This is a video about a trip that took me across Guatemala in a way I didn't expect. From the city to the mountains, through caves, cloud forests, and long days on the road, ending up with a hike to an active volcano. My name is Jared, and this is my trip from November 2025 to Guatemala. I landed in Guatemala City on November 9th in the afternoon. My friend Blake and his wife Jasmine picked me up from the airport, and instead of heading straight home, they took me to the zoo right near the airport. After that, we made the drive back to the town of Pastores, the town where they live in and where the school that I've done missions trips at before is all located. It's about a 3 to 3.5 hour drive, depending on traffic. In theory, it's way shorter, but in reality, there's always traffic. Always. The next morning came early, like 4 a.m. early. We got picked up by our guide, Ricardo, and started the long, windy drive to the town of Coban. It's known as the town in the clouds, and that name checks out pretty quick. The drive was over 5 hours, with breakfast stop at a chain restaurant. The food was solid, but honestly, the company made it way better. Most of the drive was rainy, but every now and again, the clouds would break and you'd catch a glimpse at these massive views of the mountains. It was unreal. Coban itself was rainy when we arrived, which apparently is just normal there. It sits at around 1,300 meters above sea level and is about 219 kilometers from the city of Guatemala City. After dropping our bags, we headed out to explore. We learned a bit about the city and then went up to the mountains to check out some caves. It wasn't busy at all. I don't know if that was due to it being during the week or the bad weather. But the less crowds made it even better. This first cave was pretty small, with one tight spot where you just had to twist and squeeze to get through a little bit. And at the end, they shut off all the lights, pitch black, and you couldn't see a thing. It was a surreal experience. Later that day, we visited an orchid farm that's been cared for by the same family for 4 generations. Their whole goal is preserving these really rare orchids, and you can feel how much pride they have in this. They finished the tour by making us some tea, which was a great touch. We grabbed dinner in town and called it an early night because the next day we had another early one. That wrapped up my first full day. The following morning, we drove about 2 hours further to the town of Lenguin. We stopped at a hostel on the way for breakfast, a place where our Coban tour guide used to work, which was a fun little detour. From there, we headed to Samuk Champay. I didn't get footage here, but we did a candlelit cave tour where you're swimming through parts of the cave, following candles, and eventually reaching a small waterfall inside. It was really cool, and I really wish I brought my DJI action camera with me to capture it. Maybe next time. After a burrito for lunch, we hiked to El Mirador, which is about 500 meters of elevation gain in about 1 kilometer. That one hurt. From the top, you can see the Samuk Champay pools. Caves under the river collapsed, forcing the river underground for a stretch and creating these calm, clear pools on top. After the viewpoint, we hiked back down and swam around. There were little fish that liked to nibble at your legs and back, which was equal parts funny and uncomfortable. We ended the second day at another hostel with some pizza and some card games. This is also where my left AirPod decided to retire permanently. Gone, but not forgotten. The next morning, we started the long drive back to Pastores, stopping for food along the way at a place that was freezing cold, but the food was good. Before fully heading back, we also made one last stop in the jungle to try and spot Guatemala's national bird, the quetzal. It's also what their currency is named after, fun fact, and somehow we actually saw one. After a solid night's sleep back in Pastores, Blake and I packed up to head to the base of Acatenango. We went through our gear, and I tried really hard not to overpack, which is not my strong suit. I still had to carry extra water for cooking, so there's only so much weight I could cut out.
Alrighty, we are a little way in, about 100 or 200 meters or something. Steep at the beginning, that's for sure.
Once the hike started, we were stopping a lot at first because some people in the group were moving slower, roughly every 10 minutes. This section goes through steep farmland and then into the jungle, and it's a lot of switchbacks, scattered with little shops along the way selling snacks and last-minute supplies. When we hit the first park entrance, a few people were asking the guide if we could speed things up, and if we wouldn't, we would miss sunset. Funny enough, those same people ended up being awesome, but more on that later. The cloud forest section hit me quite hard. The altitude really started to mess with me.
Oh yeah.
Thankfully, we stopped for lunch, crushed a burrito, and took a breather. Then we started again. The clouds rolled in and my pace slowed down yet again. Even walking felt like I was doing cardio at a race pace while being drunk. Two people from the faster group slowed down and stuck with me, which made that flatter section around the volcano way more manageable. About an hour later, the clouds cleared and we got our first view of Volcán Fuego. It was erupting every few minutes. That moment made the 5+ hours of hiking definitely worth it. From there, we could also see Volcán Agua overlooking the city of Antigua. I didn't film arriving at camp, but I honestly wasn't sure if I was going to continue on to Fuego. And after dropping some weight, taking altitude pills, and thinking about why I was there in the first place, I decided to go for it. That was the whole reason I wanted to do this hike. Only 4 of us went, everyone else stayed back. Getting up on the ridge was intense, the wind was brutal, but being that close to an erupting volcano was amazing. Even when the clouds rolled in and messed with the view, It was something I don't think I'll ever top. I sat there freezing, holding my camera steady, knowing that these shots I'd have for the rest of my life. What was supposed to be a 2-hour hike each way ended up being about 45 minutes each way because we caught a second wind and basically trail ran it. The next morning, sunrise was incredible, even after a cold night of sleep. We decided not to summit Acatenango because the clouds were thick and the guide said that the view wouldn't be worth it. Instead, we soaked up the sunrise from camp. After grabbing some photos and video, we crushed banana bread with jam, which absolutely hit. Quick shout out to the Fast group. Justin from Indianapolis in Colombia, kind of crazy with that one. Marty from Italy, Ethan from Wales, Jenny from Germany, and Thomas from France. These are the people that made the hut hilarious and the whole hike a lot more enjoyable. After hanging out a bit longer and taking it all in, we headed back down. On the way down, it really sank in what I had just done. The Acatenango hike is roughly 18 kilometers round trip, with about 1,600 meters of elevation gain. You start in farmland, move through the jungle, then the cloud forest, and then finish on loose volcanic rock. It's not technical, but it's a long grind, and the altitude makes everything harder. Camp sits at about 3,600 meters above sea level, which explains why breathing felt like work.
Ain't that pretty?
Volcan Fuego is slightly higher at about 3,760 meters, and it's one of the most active volcanoes in Central America, erupting every 15 to 20 minutes on a normal day. The side hike over is windy, cold, and exposed, but absolutely worth it. All in, we covered about 18 kilometers through sun, rain, fog, and wind. Tough hike, but it's easily one of the most rewarding things I've ever done.
We have made it to the end of the Acatenango Fuego hike. 18 kilometers. Actually, I was feeling real bad yesterday, but finishing off real strong. There we go.
The next day, Blake drove me back to the airport, wrapping up my 4th trip to Guatemala. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. Cheers.